Thank you. I'm going to share two stories with you today. The first one is one that has fascinated me my whole life ever since I first read it. Maybe you will recognize it. Two men happened to meet under a tree. One was called Vladimir, the other one was called Estrogen, or something like that. Estrogen, or something like that. Anyway, they converse about this and that like people do, and come to find out they were there to meet the same guy, Godot. And they wait, and while they're standing there talking, two other men come along on their way to a market. So they stop to chat a while, and one man says, "Well, I'm going to the market to sell my slave." Lucky was the name of the slave. So after a while, off they go. Then shortly thereafter, a little boy shows up. He's a messenger. And he says, "I'm here to let you know that Godot won't be here today, but he'll be here tomorrow for sure." For sure. So then he leaves. And so the two men stand there. They said, "Well, I guess we should leave." But they continue to stand there. And the curtain comes down. All right, next scene. Curtain comes up. The two men are standing there waiting for Godot. Here comes the man with his slave Lucky back from the market. Guess he didn't sell Lucky. Back from the market. But the man, the owner of the slave, is blind, and Lucky is dumb. Talk about dumb luck. Lucky is dumb. And they don't remember talking to these two guys the day before. Just don't remember. So eventually they leave, and the two men are standing there, and here comes the messenger boy again. "So sorry, Godot's not going to make it today, but he'll be here tomorrow for sure." Curtain comes down, end of play. You recognize that, right? Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. My favorite subject in high school was English. I loved diagramming sentences, I loved studying grammar, and I loved English literature. And Theater of the Absurd was one of my absolute favorites. So when I look at this, I think about the space of not knowing. Is it going to happen or not? Can I manifest this or not? We spend so much of our time waiting for Godot. There is no such thing. There is no such person, obviously. So I'm here to ask you, what is your Godot? What are you waiting for at this time in your life? What decisions have you made and yet took no action? Because it's difficult to break habits, right? It's difficult to break your perception of reality. Maybe you can't release your desire to have luck. Maybe you're a slave to luck, as in gambling or just playing the odds. And I'm a risk taker, always have been. You win some, you lose some. That's how it goes. But I don't like gambling. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, so there's that story, something to think about. What am I waiting for? Where am I standing in the space of not knowing? We all live with that uncertainty. There is so much stress and anxiety in our culture that it's just off the charts right now. So much that we feel like we just can't control. Well, whoever said we could control anything It's another one of our illusions. We do the best we can, and we let go, and then we let God. And we trust that whatever passes by our tree where we're standing is divine order. If we are seeking guidance and we're not getting it, it's because, I believe, we're not ready to receive it. It takes some growing into some of the answers that Spirit might be ready to give us. Be patient in the space of not knowing, because the space of not knowing can be very powerful. We let go of our preconceived notions and our expectations, and we learn to walk by faith and not by sight. If we rely on our senses only to show us the path, we might make a few mistakes, because we will interpret according to our past. And Spirit is fresh and evolving. So we have to open to that. The second story I want to share is 180 degrees the other direction. Some might call it the theater of the absurd, but it's not. It's the Bible. This is Exodus. And it's the story where Moses is leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. And the Egyptians are pursuing. And the Israelites are really kind of upset with Moses. They're saying, we would rather have stayed in Egypt with the devil we knew, more or less, than to die out here in the wilderness. And Moses said this, stand still and behold the salvation of the Lord. You will escape from the Egyptians, never to see them again. Now, what is so powerful about this when you look at it metaphysically, which I think metaphysically all the time, Waiting for Godot is metaphysical for me, and so is this story. The land of Egypt is the land of ego consciousness, and the Egyptians represent all of those thoughts, those judging thoughts, those habitual thinking, habitual perceptions. So there's fear, right? There's fear. Oh no, we're going to die in the wilderness. How could you do this to us? And he says, stand still. So if you find yourself in the space of not knowing, be still. Be still. You don't have to make up anything. You don't have to have an exit strategy, a catastrophe plan. You don't have to have any of that. Be still and know the salvation of your own spirit. If you can be comfortable in the space of not knowing, at the right time and in the right way, the guidance that you are seeking will emerge in the most miraculous way. When you least expect it, there will be a flash of insight. And you go, oh my gosh, I've been living in bondage to Egypt for years, and I don't have to anymore. Then the next thing to do is, please help me, because I do believe in asking. Help me to release and let go, and to embrace my greater good. Sometimes the space of not knowing is like walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I know. I've been there for years. I wish I could change this. What is mine to do? And just being in that agony. And then I remember, peace, be still. Just sit in the peace and the silence and breathe. The only thing that is really important is your consciousness. Because whatever comes down the path toward our life, it's not the thing. The thing is what we do with it in our consciousness. Sticking our heads in the sand and saying, it's not hot and I'm not in hell, is not going to further your advancement. When we face our fears square on and we meet it with faith, not that we're going to get our way, but faith in that whatever happens, God is in charge and God's will for my life is good and only good. So what is there to fear? What is there to fear? It's all this thrashing around in my head that exacerbates any angst I might be feeling. So breathe in. Feel the peace. And let it go. Godot is here. We are in the promised land. And we left the Egyptians behind. And so it is.